If you want pre-qualified leads for your business that are already pre-sold and are very easy to close for your business, let's say you're a realtor, let's say you're just a local business that wants new leads in the door. Well, if you want them pre-qualified and already pre-sold and almost ready to buy already, I would start making some solid video content that just nurtures people over time, because I guarantee you that the more video content you have out there, the more people become pre-sold, and you don't just become another option to the competition. You actually become the expert, the go-to expert, because you're so consistent with video content. A lot of people don't realize that when you have more video content out there, it's like more seeds that you're planting out there. And so people start seeing you more often. And by the time that you start running ads, now it's more of, okay, like I've seen this person before, I've seen his video content before. He's not just another person. I'm familiar with this person now. So if you want pre-qualified leads for your business, that is honestly the best way to go about it, with organic content. Because then when you start running ads, you start paying money for advertisements on Facebook or Instagram. Now it becomes so much easier to actually close those customers, because they become people that are almost pre-qualified because they've watched so much of your content already. So I would suggest that you start making content, answering people's questions, and in most cases, you can start presenting customer stories, success stories of people that once had a problem, they worked with you, and now you got that problem solved for them and they were a client. A successful story of a customer. And when you start to show all this social proof, you start to give so much advice and value through your content, you then become familiar to the people that are watching. And when you become familiar, trust starts to go up. And now you got consistency, you got trust, and you're an authority. And in most cases, this is really where it kicks in, to where now you are a person that they are going to. So when you become that go-to person, it's so much easier to close these pre-qualified leads, because they're already sold. They're not tire kickers anymore. They're not giving you the objection of like, I don't know who this person is, right? I don't know who this person is. I'm not familiar with this person. They've already seen you before. So with video content, it's really not too difficult to make content that gives people value, that answers people's questions. In most cases, it's easier to close those people that have already seen at least 6 hours of video content from you, because now they're more familiar with you. And if you hop on a sales call or if you ask them to buy, they're less resistant, because they already know who you are. They already trust you. They already look at you like the expert, because they've seen so much of you. And when they see so much of you, they become so familiar to you that it's a no-brainer to buy your stuff, because they're very familiar with you. I promise you that people that trust you more are more likely to buy from you than those that don't know you. For example, when I first started a business, I started with cold calls. I started with cold calling people just to get some business, because I had no clients at the time. So I started with cold calls, and what this led to was a lot of rejection. So much freaking rejection. It was horrendous. It was horrible, honestly, because I just kept cold calling. I did like $100 a day once. I called 100 people a day, right, trying to get some business. And I got a bunch of like rejection. I got a bunch of like, dude, don't call me anymore. No, I'm not interested. Fuck off. So many people just told me to fuck off because I was interrupting their day with a cold call. They didn't know who I was. For all they knew, I was a scammer, right? I could have been from India or wherever, right? And even though I was just trying to generate some business, and in some cases, I was even offering a service that they might need, they didn't know who I was, and I was missing one thing: trust. I had no trust. They had no trust in me. They didn't know who I was. So therefore, they said no to my offer. And it makes sense. I don't blame them for that. But when I started making so much video content like this and started posting so much consistency, and I'm not talking a week, a month, I'm talking crazy amounts of consistency with so much content that they can't miss me, then they started to warm up more to me. They started to be more open to me because they're like, okay, I've seen this person before, right? Now when I message them and I'm like, hey, like, do you by chance need this service, right? Or if I start a conversation, now they're more open to me because they know who I am. That trust factor is higher compared to when I was cold calling. And it makes total sense. Makes total sense that when you cold call someone, they don't know who I am. It makes sense. There's no trust. But when I'm making content constantly, over time, people get familiar with you. They start to know who you are. And when they begin to get familiar with you and they know who you are, the trust raises. Therefore, people are more open to you when you have something to offer them for money. So, if you were to do this same thing with your business, raising the trust of the followers you have on social media, or let's say you're getting more followers on social media, and then you're nurturing those followers with content just like this, by the time that they go through that little journey of getting to know you, getting familiar with you, raising that trust with you, well, they eventually become pre-qualified leads that over time it starts stacking more and more. Obviously, if you're consistent, it's like a flywheel. It just keeps more. It's a snowball effect kicks in and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and you start to build this consistency. And now when you ask them to buy something, it's a lot more, it's easier to do. It's easier to buy from you because they've been so familiar with you, seeing all your video content. And now it's a no-brainer. They're pre-qualified. They're basically just waiting for you to ask them, hey, here's my offer. Are you willing to buy, right? They're more willing to buy from you because they're more familiar with you. That trust factor raises. So therefore, the more content you create, the better it goes for you. Making content just like this, look at it like a money-making activity. It's a money-making activity because the more you do it, the more consistent you are after the 6-month mark, well, it starts to snowball and it starts to gather some momentum. And now leads become pre-qualified. And when leads become pre-qualified over time, and now you're running ads, that cost per lead goes dramatically down because the trust is there. Number one thing you need in closing clients is trust. That is the number one thing you need. That's why word of mouth is so effective. How about online word of mouth? How about online word of mouth? That's with video content. You create online word of mouth with video content. And when you do that for a good amount of time, you're consistent with it, I guarantee you that right there is when you start closing clients on autopilot because they come to you already pre-qualified and pre-closed. That is how you get pre-qualified leads that are already pre-closed and already are ready to buy. So the more content you make, the more seeds you're planting, the more inbound leads you're gonna start to get. So remember, I'm gonna leave you with this. Making content is a money-making activity. So start staying consistent with that, and boom, you're gonna thank me later. All right, I'll see you on the other side.